In this video I am going to look at a game I played last Friday in a Sussex League match for Horsham 1 against Crowborough. The match was played at Crowborough. I was on board 3. I had the white pieces and was up against Gerry Michaud. I started with e4 and my opponent chose the Caro-Can defence. c6, d4, d5. Now I usually play e5 but decided to try out something different. I played knight c3, which is the traditional main line. D takes e4. Black has nothing better than taking. Knight takes e4, knight f6, knight takes f6 check, e takes f6. This line has become very fashionable in the last few years. Black accepts an inferior pawn structure in return for easy development. Bishop e3. White is aiming to place the other bishop on d3, knight on e2, castle, then play c4. Bishop d6, bishop d3, castles, knight e2, rook e8, castles, queen c7. Black threatens the pawn on h2. h3. This is the standard way to meet the threat. Playing h3 is less weakening than g3, and also it is useful to control the g4 square. Knight d7, c4. Now, knight f8 is met by c5, bishop e7, bishop f4, queen d8, queen b3, when black is all tied up. Therefore, black looks to stop c5 with b6. I was now out of book and had to decide how to continue. c5 was not effective now because after b takes c5, white has to play rook c1 with no more than compensation for the pawn. Instead, d takes c5, knight takes c5, bishop takes c5, bishop takes c5, queen c2, bishop b6, bishop takes h7 check, king f8 is very good for black, who has the bishop pair on an open board. However, queen c2 was worth considering, putting immediate pressure on h7. I chose knight c3, looking to bring my queen over to the king side and rook from a1 into the game. Knight f8. This is a standard manoeuvre, bringing the knight to a place where it defends h7 and can move to g6, eyeing f4. Queen f3, knight g6. Now, knight b5 can be met by the exchange sacrifice c takes b5, queen takes a8, b takes c4 when black has good play. Instead I chose rook on a to e1 and play continued bishop d7, knight e4, bishop f4. Black wants to exchange some more pieces to free his position. Knight g3, bishop takes e3, f takes e3, c5. Now white should have continued to gradually improve his position with b3. He remains slightly better due to his superior pawn structure, although black is very solid. Instead I chose knight f5, which allowed my opponent to make a favourable exchange with bishop takes f5. Bishop takes f5 just loses material to c takes d4, so white played queen takes f5. Now, I was worried about a queen incursion to g3, but queen g3, queen f3 is not a problem, and c takes d4, e takes d4, queen g3 can be met by queen f3, when queen takes e1, winning 2 rooks for the queen is a mistake, as after rook takes e1, rook takes e1, king f2, rook on e to e8, bishop c2, white's bishop is clearly superior to black's knight, and he has a strong passed d-pawn. Instead, black continued solidly with rook e7, when he is better since he has the superior minor piece. I now decided to adopt a defensive posture. Queen f2, rook on a to e8, b3, queen d6. I now decided to place my central pawns on light squares as this made it easier to defend them. d5, rook e5, e4, rook on 5 to e7. I now move my rook off the e file to avoid any f5 tricks. Rook c1, knight e5, bishop b1. White's play looks horribly anti-positional as he is making his light squared bishop bad by placing his pawns on the light squares. However, he judged that this would make them easier to defend and was so the lesser evil. Now, White was concerned that Black would try to press him for a while. However, after a5, Black offered a draw, which White naturally accepted. Possibly this decision was due to Black's natural caution, or the fact that he was facing a higher rated opponent. It should be noted that although Black is in many ways better, White does still have a protected passed d-pawn. In the context of the match, the draw proved important, as Horsham then went on to win the top two boards, securing victory. This meant that they did not have to worry about the bottom board game, where the Horsham player eventually drew, although he seemed in trouble at one point.